Some lawmakers are starting to speak out on how the shutdown is affecting their district. Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth is one of them. The Democrat represents Illinois' 8th District. She joins us from Washington. Good morning, Congresswoman Duckworth. Welcome back to the Morning Shift.
Thank you so much. I'm so pleased to be on.
You know, I don't know how much you heard of the previous segment. We were talking about the immigration marches that took place over the weekend. What is the situation exactly in the House, and what are your colleagues talking about when it comes to this issue?
Well, I think we're all waiting for a vote. There are several options that Speaker Boehner has. One would be to allow the Senate Immigration Comprehensive Bill to come up for a vote, and I think that would pass. If he would allow the compromise House bill to come up for a vote, it's a little bit more conservative than the Senate bill, but it would pass, and I would vote for it. He could choose to do nothing, which is where we are right now, sort of like everything else that's happening in government, unfortunately. Or he could choose to just pass piecemeal legislation. So I think there is some move to do that. The chairman of the committee has said that, we're going to pass more border security and we're going to pass one thing at a time. But I just don't think that's a good plan because you need a comprehensive bill. And everyone I've talked to back in the district say the same thing. We need a comprehensive immigration reform bill.
So you're hearing that from your constituents?
I am hearing from my constituents. I had a roundtable where I had over 30 different agencies there, and they range in the political spectrum from the ACLU to the Chambers of Commerce. We had religious leaders from several different religious organizations. We had mayors. The majority of the mayors in my district are Republicans. And they all say the same thing. We need comprehensive immigration reform. It needs to be a whole package, not one piece at a time.
I want to get to the shutdown and how it's been affecting your constituents. I read an interview you did recently with Carol Felsenthal, and you said, one of the things you're doing is helping your constituents deal with complex issues due to the shutdown, the closures. What are some of those complex issues?
Well, there are things to do with Social Security, of course, the Department of Veterans Affairs. If you look at a larger level, the Small Business Administration is not approving any more loans. We are 19th in the nation in terms of the 435 different congressional districts in terms of Small Business Administration loans. Last year, the 8th Congressional District received about $391,000 a day in small business loans, and those are not being processed right now. So we're just trying to answer questions, trying to connect our constituents with whoever happens to be working right now. It seems to change daily, and just trying to answer as many questions as we possibly can.
So what are the small business owners saying to you about this delay? I mean, how is it really affecting a small business owner if, in fact, a loan has been put on hold?
Well, for small businesses, which is the majority of the business in my district, it could be the make or break point. Some of these loans were actually for recovery from the floods this spring, and they were just getting approved. And so all those businesses in places like Des Plaines that was hit really hard by the flood, they're not going to be able to continue to recover the way they need to. Others can't find the funds that they need to compete for larger contracts. We have Acme Design in Elgin. They're a big part of their project is on hold because the military contractor is unable to move forward during the shutdown. So it really trickles down, and it hurts our small businesses the best because they have the least capacity to ride out any kind of a bump in the road in terms of the economy.
Are we hearing, or are you hearing rather, that, look, I'm going to have to close down because I can't get this loan, it's hurting my bottom line?
I hear that it's hurting their bottom line, but I'm hearing that people so far have been really fantastic. They've not shut down. They've not laid anyone off, but they're very close to it. If this government shutdown continues for too much longer, our businesses will have to start laying people off, and that is not anything anybody wants.
We're talking with 8th Congressional District Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth here about the shutdown and its lasting effects on the morning shift. So we are about 4 days away from where we need to raise the debt ceiling. What is your role and other Democrats right now, you think, in the House? Are you just having to sit and wait this out because you're not the majority party?
Well, we are very limited in what we can do. One of the things we did do on Saturday was file a discharge petition. And that, for anybody who took Civics 101 in college or in high school, is where you can actually bring a bill to the floor without having to wait for the speaker to call it up for a vote. All you need is to get a majority of the members of Congress, 217 people in this case, to sign the petition, and then it has to come up for a vote. So we filed a discharge petition for the clean continuing resolution. And hopefully that'll be able to come up for a vote and we can reopen government and then we can get to work right away on the debt ceiling.
Well, what's your sense on the level of negotiations, say, between Speaker Boehner and the other chamber and with the president?
Unfortunately, I don't think there's much a negotiation at this point between the Speaker and the White House. I think the negotiations are taking place right now on the Senate side. I think the Speaker has shown that he is listening more to the Tea Partiers in his caucus than anyone else. But I know that there are very moderate Senate Republicans in the Senate, and it looks like the Senate Republicans are taking are shouldering the burden on it, and good for them, and thank you to them for continuing to work and negotiate.
I do want to get back to your district and how the shutdown is affecting some of your constituents, and one of the things I noticed was people who need food.
People need food. We have a lot of poverty and a lot of hunger in the 8th Congressional District. In fact, our poverty rate rose by about 4% in the last 10 years, from a little over 5% to just under 10%. And it continues to grow, and it's hidden hunger. We have places like the Holy Spirit Food Pantry in Schaumburg are finding that they're having to meet greater need from folks, especially as food stamps are being cut, as people are getting laid off, or they are only getting part-time employment. The food pantries are having to step up, but of course, the funding for those programs from the federal government have also been shut down. So we're seeing a real need, a real hunger.
Tomorrow on the morning shift, Congresswoman, we're going to be talking about the role of government and how people view governing in this country. What is the level of frustration that you're hearing from your constituents about what's going on? Not so much about how it's affecting them, but their views on what Congress is or isn't doing.
Well, what I hear, I was just home. I got a little bit of a cold, so I didn't come home this weekend, but I came home last weekend. And I was several places throughout the district, and I heard the same thing, which is, why can't you guys get along? Why can't you guys work together? And if you look at those of us who were elected in 2012, we all were elected, especially in Illinois, on a platform of finding practical solutions and working together. And you'll find that all 5 of us who were elected have cast our vote in that way. I voted against the medical device tax, for example. We're willing to negotiate. Unfortunately, they're just a small group of radical hardliners on the extreme right. I don't even call them Republicans that are blocking everything. And it's unfortunate because there are quite a few of us who are willing to work together and negotiate. And I share my constituents, my neighbors' frustrations, because if we could find a way to work and get this done, let's do it.
I'm sure you've seen many of the polls that have been coming out. Not a lot of people hold Congress in high esteem. I mean, how do you think those rates can improve, those poll numbers?
Well, we need to put the country first. We need to work together, and one of the first things we can do is reopen government. Let's stop playing games, and let's just, do, even if it's a short term. I'll vote for a short-term reopening of government. I'll vote for a short-term raising of the debt ceiling, and then let's sit down and negotiate. But we've got to get help to the people in our homes and our communities right now because they can't hang on too much longer. A lot of people are going to be getting reduced paychecks tomorrow. A lot of people are going to be hungry. A lot of unemployment insurance and food stamps will be cut. Those people need help now, and we just need to get back to work. So that's what I'm going to tell my colleagues today when we meet back up at 6:30 this afternoon.
Well, we'll be hearing from one of your Republican colleagues soon about the talks and what's happening in Washington. In the meantime, I want to thank you for joining us, Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth, a Democrat who represents Illinois' 8th Congressional District. Thanks so much for checking in with us.
Thank you so very much.